Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers, FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well here on this Friday as we approach Halloween. Woo! Do you like Halloween? Maybe you don't, and I shouldn't have done that, but I like Halloween. I enjoy Halloween. Trying to get into the spirit a little bit kind of out of sorts this year. Trying to find the holiday spirit. Planning on watching a couple of the classics tonight, the old Universals with Lon Chaney Jr., watching The Wolfman and The Wolfman Meets Frankenstein. So hopefully that will help get me back into the spirit of things. The old black and white Universals do a great job for that, for me. I am Ray Flowers. Thanks for joining me here on Fantasy Sports Daily. We're with you Monday through Friday. Yes, Monday through Friday. It's still surprising to me that so many people, especially folks over at FantasyGuru.com, don't know about the show. I mean, as you can see there, we're at episode 510. So we've been doing this for two years. We've got over 500 episodes. We're here Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go about an hour each day. Monday, I ride solos. On Monday, I review all the Sunday game action, going game by game, team by team. So I'll be doing that, obviously, on Monday. Normally, I'm with you Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Justin Fensterman is with you on Wednesdays. Next week, I had to schedule change a little bit. So next week, the schedule will be I'm here on Monday. Justin is here on Tuesday. And then I'll be with you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that's the change next week. All the time, there's the SiriusXM show. So you watch or listen to this show in the mornings, 12 to 1-ish. Go about an hour each day, like I said. So 12 to 1, you listen to this show. Then you take a break. And then from 2 to 5 Eastern for 3 hours, Monday through Friday on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, you listen to the Jeff Mann Show, the Elite Sports Show. I'm with Jeff every Wednesday. So next Wednesday, I'll be doing double duty. I'll be here. I'll take a break off for an hour, and then I'll be on with Jeff. But that show's Monday through Friday. This show's Monday through Friday. Here, 12 to 1. There, 2 to 5, all those times Eastern Standard Time. You can find me on Twitter, X, on Instagram, on Threads, all those places at the Ray Flowers. You can find my air vent here behind my shoulder, often on the show. For those of you wondering what we're talking about, you can watch this show live. You can watch it on demand at any point as well. And, if you're taking advantage of that live or on demand, thank you. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily to wherever you listen to podcasts. Just Fantasy Sports Daily. See if the podcast comes up. It should. You can always go to FantasyGuru.com and click the Elite Plus tab on that toolbar toward the top of the page, Elite Plus. A little plus sign. And then you can find the podcast there. And then you can watch us live in the three places I'm about to list. And any of those three places that I'm about to list, you not only can watch live, you can leave comments and questions that we can address throughout the show. Those places are Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite, and then YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. And Ethan, as always, yeah, I think it is the official mascot of Fantasy Sports Daily. Now, again, I don't really know. I've talked to the tech people, and this isn't supposed to happen. Reboot this, clear that, cache this. And bottom line is, I don't know why it does this. Obviously, it's an update that was made to the system we use. They claim it wasn't, but it is. Let's be honest, because it worked fine for the first 389 episodes we did. Anyway, my air vent is the unofficial mascot of the show. You're probably right about that. Rubby17 says, getting into the Halloween spirit tonight, watching the 1987 classic Monster Squad. Ooh, you know what's so interesting about that, Rubby17? I was actually watching a scene on YouTube this morning when I was in bed. I was rolling over, just was closing down my iPad, and I saw, so I clicked on it. It's the boat scene in that. Oh, no, you're thinking Monster Squad. I'm thinking Monster Party. Oh, you're thinking Monster Squad. That is the cult classic. Yeah, Monster Squad. I didn't watch that till maybe 5 years ago. Never saw it when I was growing up. Never saw it when it was released or anything like that. But Monster Squad, that's a good one on a Friday night. Get into the spirit, folks. Rubby17 bringing it here on the show. What else are we bringing on the show? Oh, there we go. Let's throw it up on the old screen there. We're going to talk about the sale that's going on. We mentioned yesterday. We'll mention it again today. Talk about the rankings at FantasyGuru.com. I think there's a little confusion there with the rankings, so we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll break down Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and Bengals. We'll talk a little bit about the Coffin Corner piece that just came out. That comes out every Friday. Some numbers that you may be surprised to learn about. We'll talk about that. And then we'll visit with Russell Clay because it's a Friday. He's with us every Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about position battles this week, and there's a lot of them. You see them on the screen there: wide receiver battles, running back battles, the Commanders, the Buccaneers, the Bears, the Chiefs, the Panthers, the Titans, the Cardinals. On and on. We'll talk to Russ about that a little bit. Anthony said he was in the middle of building a haunted house in the backyard, so he was late. If that was true, I'd love it. That'd be fantastic if that's true. Hopefully it was, Anthony. Angela says, I watched the original 1922 Nosferatu 2 days ago. Fantastic. I still haven't seen the new version of Nosferatu, which I believe was made last year. So that is definitely something. I think it's on, I want to say it's on Amazon right now. Maybe it's Peacock. I don't know. It's on one of them. I have access to it, so I'm thinking about watching that. Yeah, but 1992 Nosferatu, the F.W. Murnau classic. It's dated, right? It's from 1922. It's a silent film, so depending upon what your appetite is for that. But everyone has to watch that at least once if you're a horror fan. Absolutely classic. Count Orlok, the whole thing. So check that out. Absolutely. Oh, Angela said I'll share pics. Oh, Anthony, yes. I would love to see that. Fantastic. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the all-in-one sale. I'll throw it up on the screen here. I've been told by the tech department, unfortunately, we have some problems with this. So in order to get this deal right now, because again, they're still working on the tech stuff, I can tell you if you send an email to support@fantasyguru.com, you send that note to support@fantasyguru.com, you can absolutely get this package right now. Later today, the tech should all be worked out. I've heard some whispers that maybe you haven't used the promo code BOO, B-O-O. I don't know that for sure right now, but this deal is in fact active at fantasyguru.com. Even if you click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, it doesn't pop up. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. Package includes the following: the all-in football package, massive discount. Normally costs $600. It's down to $159.99. So for the rest of the regular season, you get all the NFL seasonal content, which means all the articles, all the breakdowns, all the rankings. You get the projections and all that too, if that's something you're into as well. You also get the NFL DFS content, which gives you access to the articles. It gives you access to the Discord rooms. By the way, you're all in NFL, so every NFL room you get access to. The DFS rooms, the seasonal rooms, the betting rooms, you get access to all of them, meaning you can ask the experts at fantasyguru.com any question you have. You have access to every room. You get access to every live stream, the Tuesday night live stream where they talk seasonal, the Friday live stream where the guys over at FG are breaking down the DFS situation, the Sunday live stream talking about DFS. You get all of that because you get all three of the packages: NFL seasonal, NFL wagering, NFL DFS, all for the price of $159.99 the rest of the season. All the Discord rooms, all the rankings, all the articles, all the chats, all the knowledge you need to have success. And remember, this package also includes college football. So if you're into college football, you not only get NFL, you get football. It's all in football. So all the football coverage we have at fantasyguru.com right now, $159.99, all the seasonal, all the DFS, all the wagering throughout the rest of the year for the regular season here in football. Get signed up. Send that note to support@fantasyguru.com. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the following. The rankings over at fantasyguru.com. And this comes up every week. I had a gentleman in Discord and we were going back and forth yesterday. Let's be clear about what we're doing here at fantasyguru.com. Number one, the rankings should never be up on a Tuesday. We just don't know anything on a Tuesday. But all of you want the rankings to be up on a Tuesday. Okay. Because this gentleman was complaining about where Justin Fields was ranked and the fact that Garrett Wilson was still in the rankings as of yesterday. Here's what we do. Jeff Mans puts the rankings up like at 3 a.m. on Monday night, Tuesday morning. Okay. He watches Monday Night Football and then he spends hours and hours and hours doing the rankings, posts them, in the dark before any of you are even awake on a Tuesday. Because all of you want them on Tuesday. You don't need them on a Tuesday, but you all want them on a Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, I officially start taking stardom sit-em questions, but I really don't anymore because it's like the only questions we should be taking on a Thursday or Wednesday, or a Thursday, are Thursday night stardom sit-ems. Okay. We really shouldn't be doing weekend stardom sit-ems, which is the vast majority of games because there's one game on Thursday. We really shouldn't be doing any stardom sit-ems until at least Friday afternoon after we've gotten the final injury reports because we just don't know so many players, especially as we get deeper into the season. So many players, we don't even know if they're going to play. We just got news earlier that Puka Nacua is not going to play officially. We got news earlier that Garrett Wilson's going to be listed as doubtful. Doubtful players play less than 3% of the time, so Garrett Wilson's not playing. We didn't know this on Tuesday. We didn't know this on Wednesday. We didn't know this on Thursday. We didn't know this till Friday. So honestly, you shouldn't even be bothering with the rankings until Friday. You shouldn't be asking starting incentive questions until Friday. But Ray, I've got a waiver wire question. Totally fine to ask a waiver wire question. We have a massive waiver wire article that goes up. We have everyone on staff talking about waivers. We have this show talking about waivers. We've got articles from Tyler Beaker talking about waivers. We're talking about waivers in Discord. We have a waiver room in Discord. Absolutely do that. But we can't start a week with the rankings and take everyone out that's injured, because who's then left in the rankings? Number one. And number two, it's the process that has to be followed here. So there will be players listed early in the week in rankings that don't play. And again, that's because you all want rankings on a Tuesday, which is asinine, in my opinion. It just is. We just don't have the information to know who's even playing, let alone have we broken down everything we need to break down in one day, right? So there's always changes. Even though the rankings guys are healthy, there's always changes later in the week, which is another reason why I always tell people, or try to tell people, don't, ask to start him, sit him on a Wednesday for a Sunday game, because things are going to change. That guy we have ranked 23rd right now, he may drop to 29th after there's more analysis done. The guy that's ranked 23rd, he may jump to 18th after more analysis is done. And it doesn't do you or us any good to have you ask a question on a Thursday morning and then ask the same thing on a Sunday morning. It's like, just ask the question once. So the bottom line with the rankings, everyone needs to know the process. The rankings go up on Tuesday. We take in all the information throughout the week. The only game that really matters is the Thursday game. Jeff will jump in there if there's an issue. He almost always jumps in there on a Thursday if there's an issue and changes things. And then the rankings get updated Friday night, Saturday morning for the weekend, because Jeff then can review all the health injuries, all the situation for the playing time, all that kind of stuff, and then get the final rankings up late Friday night, early Saturday morning. That's how it's always done. That's how it'll always be done. And I just wanted to lay it out there because, again, I see people complaining about things and not understanding things. That's the process. Okay. In reality, the rankings shouldn't go up until Thursday, like midday, and it should just be for the Thursday games. The full ranking shouldn't even go up till Friday, to be quite honest. But again, that's not the system we do. So bottom line is the rankings go up Tuesday morning. They get updated Friday night, Saturday morning. Those are the most accurate, obviously, rankings later in the week after we have all the information. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. All right. Let's talk a little bit of the football game last night. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. What a game here. Cincinnati wins 33-31. Let's talk a little bit about things on the Steelers side first. Aaron Rodgers throws for 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of the interceptions obviously wasn't his fault. It bounced off the hands of DK Metcalf. 4 touchdowns. Rodgers has basically been throwing 2 touchdowns a game, which is fantastic. Now, Rodgers also has not at any point this season thrown the ball for 250 yards. He went for 249 last night, which was 1 yard short, obviously. So we're still looking for the first 250-yard game for him. The most interesting thing, I had someone push back a little bit yesterday on the Jonnu Smith ranking at fantasyguru.com. And Jonnu Smith went out and scored a touchdown yesterday. So if you played him, you got a little bit of a payoff. He didn't do anything because he got the touchdown, but what do you have? 2-3 catches? 3 catches, 28 yards. Didn't do anything. By the way, Jonnu Smith still, as of right now, does not have a single game of 30 yards. 0 games of 30 yards. Here's the reason. One of the main reasons why I talked about yesterday when the person asked me is I said, look, he hasn't hit 30 yards in a game. It's not a central part of the offense. And there were 4 tight ends that caught passes in week 6. What happened last night? 4 tight ends caught passes in week 7. Here's what has happened the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, Aaron Rodgers has thrown 18 passes to wide receivers in 2 games. Remember, Jamar Chase had 23 targets last night. So we'll talk about that in a second. In 2 full games, Aaron Rodgers has thrown 18 passes to every wide receiver on his team. He's thrown 28 passes to tight ends. Pat Freiermuth went nuts last night. 5 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, a massive fantasy game. I don't know why anyone would have played him. If you did play him, you got this huge payoff. Understand that was his first game all year that he hit 35 yards. 35 yards. The 5 games before last night for Pat Freiermuth, 8 catches for 76 yards. He didn't even have as many fantasy points all season long as he got in 1 game last night. So there's one wide receiver with this team that you can trust. It's obviously DK Metcalf. There's one wide receiver you can play in the fantasy space. It's DK Metcalf. He's gone 4 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown in 2 or 3 games. He scored in 4 or 5 games. Disappointing last night, 3 for 50. But he's the only wide receiver in town here. And though Aaron Rodgers has been successful, though that's absolutely true, there's nothing to see here in terms of pass catchers other than DK Metcalf. Because, I mean, look at this. Targets 6 for Freiermuth, 6 for Smith, 5 for Washington, 1 for Hayward. Washington's caught 3 balls in each of the last 3 games. Hayward's popping here and there trying to catch a touchdown pass. Freiermuth and Smith are basically drawing each other dead in terms of yardage, catches, and targets, and they're not good numbers. Like I said, we have 1 game with those guys. 1 game with Freiermuth and Smith. 1 game out of 12 now with 35 yards. So be very cautious with getting excited about any of the tight ends here and understand what they're doing through the air. Jaylen Warren ran for 127 yards. I think it was a career best. Really impressive game for him, obviously. He lost a touchdown on a penalty. Caught 4 passes. It's the first game, though, this year he's run for 55 yards. So it was a great game. 55 yards once this season. Caleb Johnson went from 11 snaps each of the previous 2 games to 0 offensive snaps last night. So he's wasn't even on the field last night. It was all Warren and Gainwell. And Gainwell caught a couple passes, but obviously Warren is the guy right now. He's got 4 catches in 3 of 4 games. And as I said yesterday to multiple people, Jaylen Warren's a start. He's a top 20 running back right now. Hopefully you were starting him last night. Would have been nice to get that touchdown, but he was still very solid in the loss. Now the Bengals win this game, which was very surprising. They improved to 3-4. The Steelers fall to 4-2. Not the way most people saw it going. We saw a massive game here on the passing side from Jamar Chase. And let's look at the numbers real quickly. Jamar Chase, franchise record, 23 targets. I think it was a franchise record, 16 catches, 161 yards and a touchdown, a massive game. In 2 games with Flacco, he's seen 23 and 12, 35 targets, something like that. Is that what it was? Something like that. I mean, it's just crazy. Let me see if I got the numbers here. I was looking at it this morning. Chase, targets in 2 with Flacco. No, I got to update that. So I didn't have that information. What do you have? Let's pull up Jamar Chase real quickly, folks, as we're doing this live on the show. The bottom line is Flacco has gone to Cincinnati and he's done what Browning should have done. He's done what Joe Burrow did previously, and that is just pepper Higgins and Chase with the ball. In 2 outings, that is 35 targets. Yeah, 35 targets for Chase in 2 games. Massive effort for him last night. You look at T. Higgins. T. Higgins had 6 for 96 and a touchdown. He could have potentially had a second touchdown. Certainly could have had 100 yards. If you missed it late in the game, he caught a pass, slid to keep the clock running, to force Steelers to use timeouts so they could kick a field goal to win the game, which they did. So Chase could have had 109 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 1. But he's caught 11 passes for 158 yards in 2 games. Chase has caught 26 balls for 255 yards in 2 games, completely dominating things. Unlike Rodgers, who only throws the ball to running back and tight ends, all Flacco's doing is throwing it to the wide receiver, which is obviously the way he should play it. Chase Brown had his first 100-yard rushing game of the season. That's saying a lot, and it's actually not just his first 100-yard rushing game of the season. It's his first game with 50 rushing yards, 5-0. Brutal start to the season for Chase Brown. He lost 8 yards on a couple of catches, so he barely had 100 scrimmage yards with exactly 100 scrimmage yards. But he got the 100 rushing yards. 2 catches, ties his season low. Does have 9 catches in 2 games with Flacco, but it ties his season low. Interestingly enough, it's P. Ryan is playing more now. The last 3 games, he's played 29, 30, and 28 snaps. He was playing half that to start the year. So he's definitely much more part of this offense. He played 9 snaps on 3rd down to 2 for Brown. He played 8 snaps in the 2-minute drill to 2 for Brown. P. Ryan is really starting to look like the pass catching back, which is interesting because he didn't actually catch a pass last night. But he's really eating into the potential workload as a pass catcher for Brown. Something to think about moving forward. And Noah Fant scored 4 catches for 44 yards. Interestingly enough, he's had 4 catches in each game with Joe Flacco under center. He's also had only 4 targets with Joe Flacco in each game under center. So that's kind of a roundup of what's going on there. Some huge performances. Yeah, Higgins did slide. Did I say something different, Aaron? If I said something different, I apologize. I was talking about T. Higgins. He had 6 for 96, touchdown. He could have had 6 for 105 and a touchdown. I hope I didn't misspeak. Everyone, it was Higgins. Yes, you're right if I misspoke there. Aaron, that's brutal there. You lost on the hook. Aaron lost his 5-leg parlay because Gainwell didn't get 14.5 yards. He had 14. Rough. Ethan said he didn't win his parlay because DK didn't get 4 catches. He only had 3. 12-leg parlay? Like, are we doing like the 100K parlay with Jeff over at fantasyguru.com? Yeah, I don't know. Parlays are tough. When you start talking about 4, 5, 6 double digit, I mean, you're going to lose those every time. Like, you got to go in if you have a 12-leg parlay, Ethan, and know you're not going to win. And if you win, that's great. If I said Chase, I apologize, Ethan, Aaron. But yeah, it was obviously T. Higgins that did the slide down. Jamar Chase did not do a slide down. Jamar Chase doesn't go down. Jamar Chase just scores touchdowns. Bengals 3-4, Steelers 4-2. Division's back in play, I guess. Over at fantasyguru.com, there's an article that comes out every Friday. It just went up this morning. Usually goes up right before the show. Called the Coffin Corner. And I've written an article like this for years. It was actually the Coffin Corner, I don't know, 15 years ago. Kind of disappeared name-wise for a while, and I brought it back. But basically, it's an article that I find interesting. I know some people find really interesting. I know some of you don't even read because I get very few comments about it, and I would assume if people read it, they would make some comments because there are some numbers in this article that really pop in a significant way. So what I basically do is I find numbers that are interesting to me, and I kind of tell a story, right? What happened in the past does not mean it's going to happen in the future. That we need to know that, of course. Football is very much a matchup game, so it's totally different than some of the other sports where it's batter versus pitcher kind of thing, right? But here are a few of the numbers. Again, this is part of the package over at fantasyguru.com. You can sign up for any of the packages if you want: seasonal football, DFS football, or wagering football. You can sign up for any of the 3 that you want on their own, right? You can also get all 3 of them with the all-in NFL package that we talked about earlier. You see it there on the screen, $159.99. What is 7 in there for on my banner? Let me hide this for a second and get rid of that 7. Must have hit 7 instead of, see this. Look at this. We do it real all the time. There it is. Now it's better. Seasonal, DFS. That's not worded well, is it? Let's adjust this. NFL DFS. Betting. Seasonal. How about that? We're doing all kinds of things live here on the show. Let's do that. Let's see that. How does that look? Includes NFL seasonal DFS betting. There we go. That looks much better. For $159.99, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. As I said, if the tech isn't working when you try to put everything in your cart, send an email to support@fantasyguru.com, support@fantasyguru.com to get all 3 for the rest of the regular season, $159.99. But you can sign up for all the packages individually. The Coffin Corner piece is part of the seasonal package. Here's a number that's in that article too. It's a number of 70-yard games for Tetairoa McMillan. That's not a big number. Now, he's a rookie. He's in an offense that struggles to throw the ball consistently for 200 yards. So it's not surprising that it's been kind of uneven for him. But how fascinating is this? 2 70-yard games for Tetairoa McMillan, who's almost always a top 25 wide receiver in the rankings, right? And deservedly so. He has the same number of 70-yard games as Tutu Atwell. 2. Tet McMillan, who I guess he hates Tet, because it's so easy to say. McMillan is averaging 63.3 yards a game as a pass catcher. Remember, he's only had 2 games of 70 yards, but he's still averaging 63. So a lot of solid games without big games. But his 63.3 yard per game average is 1.2 yards below Stephon Diggs. I think the perception is Stephon Diggs, Tetairoa McMillan, yay. Numbers are pretty close to those 2 guys. 5.8 is the next number from the Coffin Corner piece over at fantasyguru.com. 5.8. That's the mark on the yards per carry for the Chiefs' leading rusher, Patrick Mahomes. We've talked about it here on the show, so you probably know this because, again, we've mentioned it on the show. But he leads the team in rushing yards, and he's averaging 5.8 yards a carry is Patrick Mahomes. He's tied his career best with 4 rushing touchdowns already, by the way. He's averaging more rushing yards per game at 37.0. Patrick Mahomes is averaging more rushing yards per game than Kyler Murray, Jackson Dart, and Jalen Hurts. Oh, and by the way, Patrick Mahomes has as many rushing touchdowns as the combined totals of Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, and Bijan Robinson. 4. Just let that sink in. Pretty amazing. All right, number 6. Oh, here's a question. Emmanuel E. asked the question, by the way. Does Jalen Coker coming back from the IR hurt McMillan? Is Coker the piece of that to own or just avoid if you can? Coker, and we've talked about him a lot here on the show, Emmanuel. Coker is a guy who's going to see some time out of the slot. He's going to catch 4 passes for 39 yards a week. He's going to be that guy you see everywhere across he's going to be Christian Kirk. He's going to be that guy. McMillan is a vastly superior talent. He fills a completely different role in the offense. He's a player that demands the football. Coker's a guy that just gets the football when we call a slant. So no, Coker to me, again, could he end up being a 10-point a week guy in PPR setups? He could. But the problem is, and I mentioned this, I think that, and again, he's been out, so this plays part of it, but they've had issues with the offensive line. They obviously have been running the ball tremendously well here the last couple of weeks, the Panthers, but I think Bryce Young only has one game of 200 yards passing. He's got one game of 200 yards passing. 1 in 6 of 200 yards. So no, Coker to me is a wide receiver 4-5. He's not going to eat into the production of Mr. McMillan. Next up, the number 6. That's the number of touchdowns by Amon-Ra St. Brown and George Pickens. Number of receiving touchdowns for each guy is 6. It's the league leading number right now. 6 scores in 6 games, pretty good. It's already a career high in touchdowns for George Pickens. It's already happened, right? It's already more here starting week 7. He's already got a career high in touchdowns. And he's also more than halfway to the yardage total he had last season. And he's played 6 games. So he has been phenomenal. We know that George Pickens has been phenomenal. The real question with Pickens is, what does it look like moving forward? Now that CeeDee Lamb, who guaranteed he's going to play this week, CeeDee Lamb's going to come back and he's going to take over as the lead receiver for this team. He's going to get his 10 to 12 targets every single week, which means George Pickens is probably going to get 6 to 9 targets most weeks. Pickens' outlook is certainly with a down arrow, given where he is right now. Is Pickens somebody to trade if you can on the high? Yes. Is Pickens somebody you should be worried about playing forward? Absolutely not. The only problem with Pickens is twofold. 1, will he get hurt? 2, will he go bananas? If he doesn't get hurt and he doesn't go bananas, he's a weekly starter and he's still a top 25 wide receiver. So Pickens is still an every week starter with Lamb back. He's an every week starter in that offense where Dak Prescott leads the league in attempts and completions. So George Pickens is, sir, if you can trade George Pickens because someone thinks he's a top 5 wide receiver, do it. If you go to trade Pickens and the return is like he's wide receiver 22, don't do it because he's going to be wide receiver 22 the rest of the way. So great start. Production's going to slow for Pickens, but not to the point where anybody should be worried. And obviously, Pickens wasn't drafted to be a wide receiver 1 anyway. So you should be good to go with him. He should still live up to those expectations you had back in July or whenever you had your draft. The next number in the series, 11. Christian McCaffrey, the superstar of superstars, the guy who's been playing great football, the guy who's running back 1, all this kind of stuff. The guy who people are doing victory laps on because, we said don't draft him and we had him ranked as running back 13 or whatever it was this year. 11. That's the number of games in a row a running back, Christian McCaffrey, has failed to run for 80 yards. Not 125, not 100, not 95, not 90, not 85. He hasn't run for 80 yards in 11 consecutive games. In those 11 games, he's averaged 55 rushing yards an outing. I mean, that's wall scraping 1,000 yards for a season if he plays every game. He's actually averaged 1 more yard as a pass catcher his last 11 games than as a running back. Oh, yeah, by the way, he's run for 70 yards in those 11 games 1 single time. 70 yards once in 11 games. That's 2/3 of a season, folks. He's run for 70 yards once, and he hasn't run for 80 ever. He ran for 79. Okay? This year, obviously, he hasn't run for 70 a single time. He's second in the league as McCaffrey in carries this season. He's getting 17 carries every week, 18 carries every week. He's second in the league in carries, but McCaffrey is 20th in rushing yards, and there are 40 players who have more rushing touchdowns than Christian McCaffrey. Been great in the fantasy space. He catches 7 passes every week, but he ain't no running back, folks. He's moved on from that. He's now Alvin Kamara, right? He's moving toward, I'm a PPR god, not an actual running back in the NFL. And again, look, the Niners offense is all kinds of beat up. Quarterbacks beat up, receivers are beat up, offensive lines beat up. This is not all on McCaffrey, but it's partly on McCaffrey. He's just not the running back he was a couple of years ago. Anyone that says differently, not looking at the numbers and they're not watching the games. He obviously is a star in fantasy because he's so heavily involved as a pass catcher. We'll see what that looks like. Kittle should be back this week. Jennings at some point probably gets healthier, we hope. Pearsall, if he ever plays again. So we'll see with McCaffrey, but just keep all that in mind. Not really a running back anymore. At least he plays running back. He's not like Taysom Hill at tight end, but his production as a runner, it's not good. It's just not good. I'm Ray Flowers, fantasyguru.com. On Fridays, that's what day it is, right? I'm so confused. On Fridays, we talk to Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Russell's often on the live stream on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at the site. He is our Dynasty League guru at fantasyguru.com. So he updates those rankings, has a little TikTok with all you when he does it. We'll talk to him about that in a second. He's writing articles. He's in Discord answering questions. And on Sunday nights with Justin Fensterman from 6 to 9 Eastern Time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, he's reviewing everything that's going down on the gridiron. So let's bring him in, the one, the only, Russ J. Clay. How you doing, Russ?
What's up, Ray? How you doing, man?
Hey, doing okay. I was mentioning this earlier. I'm trying to get into the Halloween spirit. I love Halloween, but I'm finding it a little tough this year to kind of fully get in. Are you a Halloween guy? Do you watch horror movies? Are you planning to get dressed up for a party this year? Your thoughts?
Am I a Halloween guy? I would say I'm a Halloween vibes guy. I am not the one to do the decorating. I am not the one to create the vibe, but I do enjoy the vibe. So I am a lazy Halloween person. I grew up in the Northeast.
Right.
Obviously, especially in Massachusetts, we have the witches and the brooms and all that crazy stuff and all that history going on there in Massachusetts. Not good stuff, but as little kids, it's just magic and brooms and witches. So So yeah, and I love the crisp air in the Northeast. Probably the best time of the year to be there. So yeah, it's a good time of year, but I'm lazy, so I don't do the vibe. I just enjoy it.
When's the last time you wore a costume? Have you done that in Arizona?
Probably 2019 when I was before I worked here, I was working on a fantasy bit where I wanted to be the Unsolved Mysteries guy with my buddy Nate Liss.
Robert Stack?
Yeah, and so I got the magnifying glass and the suit. We never did the bit, but I did dress up once.
Okay, nice. I remember that show back in the old days. That's Robert Stack, did he voice a Transformer in the cartoon? I think he did. Maybe it was the movie. Russ Clay at fantasyguru.com. Russ, I mentioned the TikTok discussion you have each week while you're doing the Dynasty rankings. When, where, obviously TikTok. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so this past week we got into some of the college football prospects for the 2026 class. I definitely suggest checking those out. And if you miss it, I do a full article on the site at Fantasy Guru reviewing it all. I added like 6 2026 prospects to the Dynasty rankings this week. So go check those out. There's some really, really good players to talk about. And we are basically towards mid-season now. And that is where we start to decide if our Dynasty teams are going to make it or not. And if you are 1-5, 2-4, in that range, 0-6, God forbid, we can start looking towards that next draft class and you can start getting some rookie picks. So not a great quarterback class once again, much like 2025, but running backs and wide receivers will be fun.
How is the Sunday night show again on SiriusXM with Justin, 6 to 9 Eastern? How's that going?
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. We review the games and doing all that good stuff. So yeah, it's fun.
I think we're encouraging folks to send questions in Discord, right? Was that a one-off, or is that something we're trying to do every week now?
I don't know.
Yeah, one-off. Okay, all right. Folks, go to Discord, go to the Game Time room, send some questions. Maybe you'll get an answer on air. I don't know. I knew that was a thing once. I'm speaking totally out of turn because it's not my show. We should probably ask Russ. It's his show. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Let's get into some of the quote-unquote messy situations this week. Basically, some battles for playing time. And, we only have 2 teams on bye this week, so, that's okay. Next week with 6, it's a disaster for everybody. But there are a lot of injuries, a lot of uncertainty across the land here. Let's talk first of all with the Tampa Bay wide receiver grouping here. Godwin's out, Egbuka's out, Evans, sounds like he's going to give it a go. That's kind of where we're at right now. We've got the 2 Johnsons, we've got Shepard. What are your expectations in the short term here with Egbuka and Godwin down?
Not fun for us fantasy-wise. Baker Mayfield's having an MVP caliber year, and it hasn't really mattered who's out there. It didn't matter at the end of last week. So he is just slicing and dicing every defense no matter what. So that is the way we got to look at this. It doesn't matter who's out there. These are practice squad guys. Cameron Johnson is a practice squad guy. Sterling Shepard was out of the league. So that's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with the Kraken, aka Baker Mayfield, who is 5-1 somehow with this practice squad team. So pretty amazing. It's again a hurt, injured Mike Evans. He's definitely not 100%. If you want to fire with that, great. But whoever is on that depth chart on Sunday, I will be in on.
It's still 250 and 2 Baker, even with all the injuries. You're still expecting that type of performance from him?
It was last week. Cameron Johnson. Who's Cameron Johnson? I have no idea who that is.
With a K, not a C, too.
Yeah, Cameron Johnson with a K is a made-up fictional character.
You know who isn't made up is Russ J. Clay, Russell J. Clay, Russell Clay, Russ Clay of fantasyguru.com. On Twitter X at Russell J. Clay. Washington, we just got news a couple minutes ago. Dan Quinn says that Terry McLaurin yet again won't play this week. So he's out yet again. Deebo Samuel, he's been gutting out a heel injury. He didn't look great last week, wasn't really involved. A lot of people like Luke McCaffrey. I try to tell people he gets 2 targets, catches 1 pass every week. I know it's a big play, but they've got Jalen Lane. Chris Moore stepped up last week. What is this team doing in a matchup that appears to be a good one? What are they doing through the air here with Terry McLaurin out in week 7?
So last week we saw if Jaden Daniels is in again, it's not going to result in a lot of receiver production, but he's going to be fine. And whether it's the tight ends or they're going to make it work somehow. This is a great offense, great offensive system, good coaching. And I think Jaden Daniels is one of the best quarterbacks in the league already. Had some really tough errors that are very uncharacteristic of Daniels last week with the fumbles. But if you remove that and you just look at the fantasy performance, he is back. This is going to be a good rest of the season for Jaden Daniels owners. So that's what I'm more concerned with. And Bill is pretty locked into a role here. So, that is the 2 upsides in this offense right now. Luke McCaffrey's catching a lot of touchdowns, which I guess we shouldn't be too surprised about considering he's a top 3-round pick from last year. So perhaps that continues. I wasn't super high on Luke McCaffrey, but he is a McCaffrey. So I guess we'll keep rolling with that.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. The Niners, I love this when Juwan Jennings said that every rib he has, all 58 of them are broken. I think he said actually 5, but he's clearly not 100%. Ricky Pearsall doesn't look like he's going to play again. Looks like George Kittle's got a good shot to play. Looks like Brock Purdy's got a good shot to play. But this team is all kinds of beat up. We don't really know what's going on. What does the receiving core look like with a beat up Jennings, a likely out Pearsall, and Kendrick Bourne, who's been huge the last 2 weeks, but might be catching passes from a different quarterback this week?
Kendrick Bourne longest streak in NFL history of 142 receiving yard games. So will he keep that streak alive and get his third in a row this week? It's unclear. But he has been playing amazing. And Bourne was in the system before, before he went to New England. And it just seems like he knows exactly how to manage all this. And I'm not one to question him at this point. He was good in New England when they gave him opportunities. So I think he's going to continue to be a fantasy relevant weapon. And I would start him as a flex wide receiver 3 this week.
In Chicago, we've got a scenario where obviously the passing attack has been solid, but other than Rome Odunze getting touchdowns, it's been kind of meh. There hasn't been really guys we can lean on. DJ Moore's disappointed. Burden stepped up last week and had a big game. He had 9 PPR points. Tons of Burden questions this week. And I think a lot of it has to do with him, really flashing for the first time last week, but also because of the health of DJ Moore. We're still uncertain. He has the groin issue. We don't know if he's going to miss a month. We don't know if he's going to miss a week. We don't know what's going on there. So I assume you're going to say Luther Burden, you like the talent. I assume you're going to say, yeah, Luther Burden should be picked up off the waiver wire. If Moore is out, what does Burden look like? If Moore is in, what does Burden look like in week 7?
Do we really want DJ Moore's production from this year? That's kind of my thought on Chicago's offense. I haven't been very impressed fantasy-wise other than Swift and Odunze. I came in very intrigued by how they were going to navigate all this drafting. Loveland in the top 10. They have not used him hardly at all. In fact, they're splitting snaps with him and Kmet. And what they're doing with their wide receivers is not very fun. So Ben Johnson not doing his fun stuff that he did with the Lions, but we do have Odunze, who did have a touchdown last week, called back. And the running game's great. I mean, if you have Swift, you're pretty happy right now. Right. And if you have Caleb, he's doing pretty well right now. So that's really who I would focus on. If you're in a pinch and you want to go Burden, I do dig it. But if Moore's back, Luther's sort of a project, build along over the next couple years type of guy. I don't know if he's going to get more opportunities, even if Moore is out.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Let's shift things over to Chiefland. We talked earlier about Patrick Mahomes and all the success he's had on the ground. Obviously, the offense is working. Now they welcome back Rashee Rice. Talk us through this receiving group, the wide receivers in particular here, because the expectation is Rice comes back and he's getting 7 or 8 targets right away and he's productive. If that's the case, then we start him as a wide receiver 2 and feel good about it. But what does that mean for Worthy? What does that mean for Brown? Are Juju Smith-Schuster and Tyquan Thornton waiver wire fodder at this point? What's the receiving room look like with Rashee Rice back for the Chiefs?
Yeah, not fun for Juju, who took some shots. I thought I was watching UFC at the end of that game. He left with a bloody nose. Brian Branch, interesting move there.
Got suspended for a game. It's official.
Yeah. I like Rashee Rice. I have always been lower on him over the last almost 2 years. It seems like the hype is that he's going to become almost Travis Kelce-like in his production. I like Worthy, and Worthy was the guy in the playoffs last year when Rice was out. I don't think he's going to move into a fully featured role like he was being drafted like this offseason, 2nd round pick. If you're drafting Rashee Rice in the 2nd round, that means you think he's going to get 12 to 1,400 yards. I was never really there, but I do respect it. So it's one of those where it's like, were the Beatles good? Yeah. Were they one of the greatest bands ever? Yeah. Is it my favorite band? Not even close, but it's like, all right, I'm in. Sure. So I think Rashee Rice is good. I think it's a great situation in that offense. I'm not all in. I'm never going to be the highest on this whole situation, but I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Russ, let's stay with the Chiefs. Let's talk about the running game for a bit. I think we look at this, and you and I have talked about this. Jeff Mans has talked about this over and over again on the Elite Sports Show. We've written about it, discussions in Discord and all of that. Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, Rashard Smith brings excitement. Rashard Smith on the field, touched the ball a couple times, but he's just not part of the offense, right? He's just not. Pacheco at times has been really exciting. He's been very productive at times as well. And if you look at him, 3 of the last 4 games, he's had 40 snaps. He played 49 snaps last week, which is a season best. He had 12 carries, which is a season best. He ran 29 routes, which is a season best. Like all of a sudden, Pacheco, and they talked about him on the broadcast as in the first quarter, like, oh, they're going to lean on Pacheco tonight. Is Pacheco back to being a usable piece here, or was it a 1-week thing? Because again, what did he really do anyway? He scored 6 PPR points. He didn't do anything. He just did more than he'd been doing.
Yeah, I haven't cared about Chiefs running backs since Pacheco became the starter, and maybe that's on me. And Pacheco hasn't been horrible the entire time, but again, with sort of my philosophy, I always value guys who are top 3 round picks, and there is no guy on this offense, and there hasn't been for many years since they drafted Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was the last guy they drafted top 3 rounds. He was the guy getting those 15 to 1700 yard seasons, 15 plus touchdowns. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he had a bunch of issues off the field that kind of ended his career, PTSD and all that crazy stuff. And they just have basically said, we don't need a running back sense. So when we watch these snap distributions and bringing back old Kareem Hunt and Pacheco getting the starter role and bringing in Rashard Smith, there is no guy. And I'd say there's about 10 NFL running back depth charts right now that do not have a guy. And again, you end up chasing your tail most of the time because it's like, I like Rashard Smith as a 7th round pick. But I know what that is 95% of the time, right? Like 95 out of 100, actually 98 out of 100 running back prospects that are 7th rounders are not going to be Chris Carson.
Right.
And they're not even going to be Pacheco. Pacheco's the 2nd best 7th rounder of the last couple decades. So that Pacheco's the ceiling of late round picks. And Chris Carson is like, we'll never see that again, really. And that was 2 to 3 years. So I like Pacheco as a player, and I think he's had a great career. But yeah, this is what it is. They need to draft a guy. Until then, it's going to be more of this.
And it's so odd because for the first 18 years Randy Reed was the head coach in the NFL, he had a running back one every year. Like it was just one guy, and one guy touched the ball 282 times and had 57 catches. Brian Westbrook, on and on. Just not where we're at right now. Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Let's go to the hot topic running back question of the week, Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard signed a massive, for this day and age, $32 million contract extension in November last season. In season, they gave him a contract extension. Jonathan Brooks, obviously, his career is hanging in the balance here. So they wanted to lock down Chuba Hubbard. They did. Hubbard hurt his calf. Rico Dowdle steps in, and Rico Dowdle goes to the moon. Has 200 yards from scrimmage in 2 straight games. I think he's the first guy since Lev Bell in 2014 to do that. Massive efforts. What do we do now? Is Hubbard the lead? Is Dowdle the lead? Is it 1A, 1B? Is it 55-45, 60-40? Is it going to be one thing this week and something different next week? I'm asking you an impossible question, Russ. Just want to get your take. I've been asking everyone this week.
Okay, so back to my strategy. Chuba Hubbard, not a top 3 round pick. Rico Dowdle, not a top 3 round pick. Jonathan Brooks got basically swept off the board. That was again, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that was the plan.
Right.
And their plan got destroyed. Who is the starter this week? It should be Rico Dowdle. He should have that job at this point, much like Chuba Hubbard had emerged last season. I don't think Chuba Hubbard's 100% healthy. I think he's scared that he's losing his job. So that is what we're looking at right now. I would start Dowdle over Hubbard, but we're probably going to be in a 60-40 split or 50-50 split when Hubbard is back and healthy. Hubbard was very good last year, even though he got off to a rough start to begin this year. So I still have respect for Chuba, and I know that locker room does too. They really like him there.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Situation with the Saints next up on the list here. Rumors about Alvin Kamara getting traded. He said no. So it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. He's doing what running backs do when they've played 9 years in the NFL. He's slowing down. And the offense is not dynamic anyway. You've got Kendre Miller, who at this point in time is a better runner of the football than Kamara. Obviously not a pass catcher of anything, but these two guys are both going to be involved. We've seen a scenario start to develop where Miller plays enough to be an annoyance to basically ruin efforts of Kamara, but not do enough on his own to be a viable flex option. What are we getting the rest of the way? Is it still 14 touches for Kamara and 9 for Miller? That's the way it's going to be all season long, and we're going to need 7 catch games or the random touchdown for Kamara to pay off, and Miller's always going to be this guy that we want to play, but you look at the scores and it's 6 PPR points every week. He doesn't do anything. Where are we at with this team now, and what are you projecting for the rest of the season?
The biggest shock for me this year is Spencer Rattler completing almost 70% of his passes, which is huge for Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love either of these guys, really. I want to like Kendre, but he just is not going to get a starter role with Kamara there. Kamara has reached the point where he doesn't care about winning anymore. And he just wants to hang out and stay put and end his career in New Orleans. And that's going to be what it is. So they have to respect that. I don't think they want him to be the starter there anymore, but it is what it is. So he's going to continue to get 12 to 17 touches a game, and 5 of them will be receptions, and you're going to get 10 to 17 points based on if he scores a touchdown or not. And that's pretty good. That's not bad. So he's been pretty good this year. I know it hasn't been the high ceiling, but he's been all right this year. So yeah, it is what it is.
Tony Pollard's a very interesting guy. When he was with the Cowboys running behind Ezekiel Elliott, everyone wanted him to touch the ball more because they saw him being this explosive guy where Elliott was kind of a plotter. Now the thought is that Pollard's a plotter. But it's interesting because each of the last 3 years, this guy is running for 1,000 yards. He's averaging like 45 catches. Like, these are solid numbers. This year, the Titans offense is horrible. They got a new head coach, their offensive coordinator. It was Callahan. He's gone now. Both Callahans are gone now. This team is a disaster on offense. Calvin Ridley's hurt now. I mean, it's bad. And here's Tajay Spears, who's kind of the new Tony Pollard. He's the guy that we got to get the ball more to. He's the guy that's more explosive. He's the guy that's going to do more. But just like with the Cowboys, Tony Pollard's still the guy that usually gets the ball. Spears was a little bit more involved last week. I'm seeing a lot more Spears questions this week as a result. Tajay Spears, a flex option, not a flex option because of this offense, or does he have a legitimate chance to take over this backfield?
Titans.
I know, right?
We should just relegate the Titans for the rest of this season. I feel bad for Cam Ward.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is. And if there's an interim head coach, I don't know if it's worse than the Urban Meyer Jaguars, but it is really, really close. This is catastrophically bad. And Tony Pollard, like you mentioned, 440 yards in 6 games. He's on pace for like 1,400 total yards this year. And it doesn't feel like that through the first month and a half. Spears does look live. I watched his touches last week. He looks explosive. So that's a good thing. It's nice to have more explosive weapons. Hopefully him and Cam Ward can work out sort of a short yardage all-purpose role for him. That would be a nice little addition to this team. But overall, the problem with the Titans is they cannot move the ball. And, Tony Pollard can get 2 rushes for 8 yards on the first 2 snaps. And then they go, They incompletion on fourth down, then they're down 14-3,
right.
and then these game flows are just cooked. So if you're watching these Titans games or you're a Titans fan, you know what I'm talking about. Just you'd think there'd be PPR upside for Spears here. So that's the hope. So I'd be interested. I definitely keep him on the roster, but it has been really rough for that offense so far this year.
Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com. Last week we saw with the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray not play. Jacoby Brissett came in. The offense looked the same. Marvin Harrison, got a concussion. Unclear if he plays this week. Zay Jones, unclear if he plays this week. His knee is always an issue for him. But I want to talk to you about the backfield. Amari DiMercato obviously had the gaff at the goal line. He's got an ankle issue. He's already been ruled out this week. Okay, so he's not part of the mix here. So now we got Michael Carter and Zonovan Bam Knight. How are we playing this? 2 weeks ago, it was 20-plus touches for Carter. Last week, we got all the reporting that Bam Knight was going to start and lead the backfield. He didn't start. He scored, but he didn't really distance himself from Carter. Kind of a messy scenario with a backup quarterback potentially, with a beat-up wide receiver core. Where are we at with Knight and Carter? At least there's only 2 guys to worry about this week.
Oh, man.
I'm asking you the easy questions on this Friday, Russ.
The rogue report from Bam Knight's father to Adam Schefter that he was going to be the lead back last week.
Schefter doesn't normally miss.
Completely wrong.
Yeah.
Michael Carter was getting the lead touches that first series. They ended up with a pretty even distribution. The Cardinals actually decent with Jacoby Brissett offensively, but no Marv. I'm pretty sure concussion protocol there. They really have no threat other than Trey McBride at this point. It is gnarly. So I would go with Michael Carter personally. But yeah, if you're in a flex situation, I would go with Michael Carter, but it's not ideal. That's for sure.
Russ Clay at fantasyguru.com. Ethan asked a question here. We were talking about DJ Moore earlier. Puka Nacua is not going to play this week. We got that information here this morning. So we talked about Jordan Whittington on the show multiple times. We talked about him being bid on the waiver wire in leagues. Whittington this week, what are your thoughts? And if you had to choose one of these guys, Moore or Whittington? And I assume, Ethan, this is for this week if Moore is active. For me, if it's a seasonal question, I think we still got to go DJ Moore. Maybe I'm wrong here, Russ. So this week and moving forward, Whittington or Moore?
So Jordan Whittington had opportunities last year to emerge in this offense, and he did not. He is playing more snaps this year. He is developing, but he got a lot of opportunities last year, and he got snaps, but it wasn't fantasy relevant. So I'm curious what he does with this opportunity. Opposite Devontae Adams, will he develop into a fantasy relevant backup role this year? It's really unclear. Ethan, I hope DJ Moore plays and you just don't have to worry about this. But yeah, I mean, I know he's a hot name right now, and he was a talented prospect out of Texas. Injuries were his main issue. He would have been a high pick if he didn't have all those injuries. But yeah, through 2 seasons and a lot of games, like remember last year, they didn't have Adams at all. So there was a lot of opportunity that he was not able to emerge through. So that's kind of where I'm still at. Maybe it's different this year, but I haven't forgotten last year.
Russ Clay at fantasyguru.com. We just got news that, Dave Canales, the head coach of the Panthers, says Rico Dowdle will play this week. So there's that update. Terry McLaurin will not play this week, according to Dan Quinn. We talked about that. Tutu Atwell will play for the Rams. So for those of you hoping to get a guy that catches 2 balls and hopefully one of them's a touchdown, there you go. Puka Nacua will not play. Garrett Wilson is doubtful. And I talked about this earlier. One final thing to ask you, Russ. Garrett Wilson being doubtful. Doubtful players don't play. It's like 2.5% or something like that. We're also hearing Josh Reynolds is beat up. We don't know his status for this week. They're coming off a historically bad game last week, the Jets. What are we doing here? I mean, is Justin Fields going to have to run for 130 yards? Is it going to be 37 touches for Hall and 6 passes. Like what? Because I mean, again, this receiving core is already bad anyway. And Garrett Wilson being down and Josh Reynolds being out, it's Aaron Smith, Alan Lazard, and Tyler Johnson. Good luck.
Oh, as a former Justin Fields fan who has given up hope, last Sunday when I checked the scores and saw 45 passing yards. Oh my God, it is so bad. The vibes couldn't be worse. I didn't even know what to say about the Jets offense at this point. I know Aaron Glenn is probably not long for this head coaching job. And I know Justin Fields, as much as I think he's an amazing talent, is not long for starting in the NFL anymore. So this is really bad. I wouldn't mess with any of this. I like Rubby saying fire up Mason Taylor. Ethan says fire up Ray and Russell. I mean, I could go run some cardio. Ray's tall.
Yeah.
Ray's tall.
Used to be able to jump.
I could run some pick plays for Ray in the red zone if we get there.
Right.
But beyond that, man, it is doom and gloom. I don't have any optimism for this offense, Ray.
How about this? You be Hunter Renfrow, I'll be Tedero McMillan. We'll take care of it.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I'll set picks and sell car insurance and health insurance during the week.
Russ Clay at fantasyguru.com. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for any of the products, including hockey, basketball, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, golf, everything over there at fantasyguru.com. You can get the 3 package, the all-in NFL package right now, $159.99. Send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. You get NFL seasonal, NFL DFS, NFL wagering, all of it. Every article, every ranking, every cheat sheet, every chat room, all of it for $159.99 the rest of the way. Send an email to support at fantasyguru.com. Russ, as always, thanks for joining us on Friday. Anything exciting besides, obviously, football this weekend for you?
Football, Jags play 6:30 in the morning, y'all. Remember, got to set those lineups Sunday night before that kicks off. But, yeah, it's the same thing at this point in the year. We got trending the SiriusXM show on Sunday, and Sunday mornings I'll be hanging out in the Discord, probably doing voice memos for you guys. So.
You have to show me that too. I think it's probably really easy, but
it's so much easier than typing. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think I might take you up on that. Ask you after the show.
Do it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think people would love a Ray Flowers voice memo.
Hey there.
And it makes you a person.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You basically just turn your microphone on and click the mic button, right?
It's on the right side.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Hey guys, don't do that. That's crazy pants. He sounds like that when he types too. I do. Russ, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you again next Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. You have a great weekend. He's Russell Clay. I'm Ray Flowers. We'll be back on Monday. I'll break down all the game action on Monday for all of you. 1 full hour of going back and forth every single Sunday game. Both teams, what you need to know, what you need to not know, what you missed, what you didn't miss. We'll just cover all the game action on Monday, as we always do, next week here on the show at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, as we are on 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For Russ, I'm Ray. Have a great weekend. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.